This is delightful. I'm so glad we came here. Feel those vibrations at Camp Video Games. Well, hello there, campers. Welcome to Camp Video Games. This is a podcast that covers video games and their assorted multimedia adaptations. This is Junior Camp Counselor Sean, and joining me is Junior Camp Counselor Josh.
Hello, this is me, Junior Camp Counselor Josh, and I'm here to remind all the campers this week, pond water is good for you. Don't ask questions. Just get a big old scoop of it, ladle it up, put it in your thermos, and just start drinking. Have a good time.
According to the FDA, pond scum is a serving of vegetables, so we can actually save money at the lunchroom, and just drink your pond water. Don't swim in it though, because there are alligators.
Yeah.
So just get your big old scooper
and those amoebas that swim up your pee hole.
Oh, the Kandahar or something like that.
I don't know. Maybe there are. Maybe there
the
are.
Kandiru. It's this little fish that swims up your pee-pee hole.
Honestly, you should just never let any orifice of your body underwater except your mouth drinking pond water.
You know, I think I actually got like a pee-pee hole infection. I sat in like a natural hot spring in Utah, I think. And and like my pee-pee hurt for a while.
Well, then, last point of advice before we get into today's
we were
show.
all naked in the hot tub. Basically.
One, don't go to Utah either. That's the last piece of advice. Anyway, we are here to talk about the film.
Oh, yeah. Here at Camp Video Games, not just stream of consciousness.
Yes. Lara Croft. Tomb Raider. Not Tomb Raider, but Lara Croft.
Lara Croft.
Colon. Tomb Raider.
You don't see her colon, though. That's right, Josh. It's from 2001, starring Angelina Jolie in the role she was born to play. Let's talk about Angelina Jolie for a second. Because,
have you seen Changeling?
I don't think so. Because I also think I'm way under prepared to like talk about Angelina Jolie's like film career, because like I was like, what movies have I seen that she's in? I was like, I saw Gone in 60 Seconds.
That's literally the first one that came to mind. And no one's heard of it.
Really?
Yeah.
They're remaking it, I believe.
That Changeling movie?
Oh no, Gone in 60 Seconds.
Oh no,
bro.
I was talking about Change.
No, I've never seen The Changeling. But I did see Lara Croft Tomb Raider.
I mean, this is, if you ask me, if you put a gun to my head and said, name an Angelina Jolie movie, this is the one I would say. And I had not seen it until 48 hours ago.
Right on. Directed by Simon West. And the big movies that Simon West is known for is he did Con Air.
Sick.
And he did The Expendables 2. Among a lot of other movies that I have not seen. But Josh, back in the day, do you know what Simon West directed?
Only because you told me before we started recording. Oh. So I'm not going to spoil it. Well, unless there's maybe a few you haven't told me about.
Go ahead and talk about the first one that I mentioned. It's the Budweiser frogs truck commercial. And like this is back when like commercials were like way more like popular because everyone had to watch them and there wasn't like a pay tier. Like,
well, this is a thing. I'm gonna cite who sort of gave me this thought. Matt Chrisman from Chapo Trap House used to talk about how like we used to get like a couple memes a year.
Yeah, exactly.
And it'd be during the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And you would just beat them to death, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you get like a couple memes an hour.
What's
and they're
that?
Gone. Yeah, like so. Did he do the Budweiser? Is that the one? With the frogs?
I just found this out like when I sat down here in front of the Temple of Time. But it's the one I believe the frogs are sitting there because there's a couple of different frog commercials. But this one, a trio of frogs are sitting on a stump. And a Budweiser truck drives by, and one of the frogs it tongues it flicks its tongue at the license plate and then gets dragged away.
So he didn't invent the frogs. He came in when they were trying to like make them an institution.
I'm sure like some like vampire and corporate at Anheuser-Busch invented the idea of the frogs. Although who knows?
I wonder if we're talking so much about the director's other work has anything to say about the quality of the film.
Well, let's talk about what could be one of the most popular works to have ever been directed before, and Simon West is responsible. And you might have...
He did this music video?
He did the music video for Never Gonna Give You Up.
Wow.
Which, I'm looking at it right now on YouTube. It has...
That's crazy.
Okay. It has 1.5 billion.
I was about
views.
to say it's in the billions for sure.
But we're dealing with an auteur here. This is a big deal. It's just like my blood got pumping when I just found that out.
This is definitely not a man just cashing a paycheck to play on the zeitgeist of the
moment. Lara Croft Tomb Raider 2001. Okay.
Which that's also noteworthy that it was 5 years away from the original game. So like almost the entire OG PlayStation series had been produced at this point.
I don't think we see her kill a single dog in this movie.
No, very disappointing.
Yeah. Yeah. But she does kill a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Which again, if you go back to the previous episode where we talked about the game, I discussed that evolution within the series.
That's right.
In which... Yeah, Lara Croft's creator, Toby Gard? I believe is his name, but he didn't want her killing humans as much. And here we are.
Yeah, for sure.
Guns blazing.
And sometimes an air compressor blazing as well. Okay. Angelina Jolie, like this is like I'm not being like I do not have a shit-eating grin when I say like this is her defining role.
No, I feel a little bad for her to say that, but it's just true. It's just like I don't know.
I truly think though that Lara Croft Tomb Raider helped to like set the standard of expectations for like female action stars. In the same pantheon, I would put like Linda Hamilton, Sigourney Weaver, Mila Jovovich. There's others that are escaping me right now, but like, the hardcore, very sexy, very tough, like fighter.
Yeah, I mean, those first two are the pinnacle for me.
Absolutely.
And they should be for anybody.
Especially Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
She is the progenitor. Although I guess you could look at like Linda Carter as Wonder Woman back in the day. I also thought, just talking about like female action stars, like Jolie looks a lot like Gal Gadot, the new Wonder Woman, just like the big lips and the kind of vacant stare and the eyes, and
but she's also we don't need to get into the politics of Gal Gadot.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that part of her.
She's
Zionist.
Not a great person. Anyways,
we always bring this up, don't we?
She also did that Imagine video during COVID that none of us will ever forgive them for.
Don't hate your movie. Fuck Wonder Woman. Unless there's a video game, then I'm ready to talk about it. But in it's the early 2000s. Like there's a lot of copycat movies coming after Tomb Raider. I couldn't think of another like female leading video game adaptation before the Tomb Raider movies.
No, I don't. Nothing comes to my mind.
I mean, afterward, there's Blood Rain. There's like some vampire stuff, and like, there's got to be more. I'm just missing them. Like the Matrix stuff happened with Trinity's character, and But what am I getting at?
While you're on that, of course, the Mila Jovovich Resident Evil movies.
Of course.
Anyway,
yeah, those are. We'll talk about those later. What is Angelina Jolie's like life in the public eye? I mean, like she's just recently come into the news. Did you see this? What I sent you?
Did you guys see this?
I forgot that Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt were married.
Yeah, they have a million kids.
And their daughter wants to change her name now.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to have the Pitt Jolie seal of approval, I guess.
I read a deeper.
I read a headline. Go for it.
Yeah, no, it's apparently like this is the third or fourth kid to not want the Pitt moniker on their surname, and like there's no like there that like, oh, smoking gun, we got to cancel Brad Pitt. It's just like yeah, he was probably a shitty dad. He was probably the reason they split up.
Yeah.
And like so the kids don't want his name. Like whatever. Who cares? But yeah, it was like one of them just turned 18 and now has the legal like
the right to change your name.
Right. Yeah. That's why it was in the news. But like, yeah, when you read the story, you go, oh yeah, pretty much all of them have done it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Brad Pitt could be the funniest guy in the world if he named a kid Arm.
It's stupid. I hate that.
Oh man, I hate that it worked on you. Okay, but Angelina Jolie, like I know that she's like famous for adopting a lot.
That's honestly, I think of this movie and her adopting a lot of kids.
Yeah, and she was married to Billy Bob Thornton for a while too.
Yeah, and relevant to the film, Jon Voight's daughter.
In real life?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's so funny because while
I was watching the movie, I was like, wait, that's her actual dad?
It really is? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Does she share his politics? Because he's like, Fox News loves Jon Voight. Because they're like, look, see, Hollywood has...
Yeah. We got one, folks!
It's like, oh, look, Kevin Sorbo, Jon Voight, John Lovitz. Wow, great cast. Let's get them all in a movie.
They've got Rob Schneider.
Oh, good.
Jim Brewer.
People who kind of like get like typecast as playing stupid people for some reason. We're having fun here, folks. But Angelina Jolie is just, I mean, she's like Hollywood royalty, and it's just like, you know, being in Tomb Raider made her like front and center in my opinion. Like that was really her like her big kickstand as a performer.
And if you watch the previous episode, I feel like we did a pretty good coverage of Lara Croft within the zeitgeist as this weird sex symbol, and like that being the marketing selling point for the franchise of games, and
Absolutely.
thus the film, which is, you know, a degree removed from the game, which like we had some praise, not a ton of praise for, but some, like there was a lot of innovation in the games. There's a lot that makes them worth playing at the time, but by the time we've disambiguated it to live action film, it's just a big old set of double D's is like the main sell.
Yeah. You know, I mean, and Jolie already has like a big rack, but she's wearing cups on top of her.
It's
her breasts.
insane. It's so dumb.
It looks bad. Like it's just. I'm gonna step on my tongue at some point if I keep like trying to like make sense of it. Where it's like, okay, we get it. Like they're larger than life.
What do you think? Like the Gamergate 2.0? You think Grums is gonna come after you?
No.
Oh, actually, she was censored. Her boobs were supposed to be bigger.
Okay, and there's a cheat code where you can watch the movie and she's naked.
No, who cares?
Yeah, sure.
It's dumb. It's like I'm gonna be honest. I will have some things to praise about this film that's delighted me and surprised me.
Yeah,
but not many.
No. I actually for my like overview, I the things that I found impressive about the movie, it's just like it's got a great energy. The soundtrack's fun and it's got a lot of style. It's a very stylized movie.
I will say energy and style, but that does not encompass pacing.
That's true.
I'll get there.
There is some interesting cinematography in this movie. In the sense that it's like they're having fun with physics. Specifically the opening shot of Laura, where she's hanging upside down, and there's just like a great like camera like 180 that like goes from right side up to upside down. You see that it's fun. It's playing with reality in a weird way that's like that you can only do with film. Like, you can't really make that type of fun change with. You can't do that in a book. You mean like,
Yeah.
but she was actually upside down.
Well, this is maybe a good point to lay some groundwork for how I viewed the film.
Yeah.
This is,
let me just finish first.
yeah, you go ahead and finish.
The list of good stuff. Stunts and for the time, the CG was not bad. And I think specifically the sound effects were kind of delightful to me. And there's a good use of some backlot sets. Like this, it's a very high budget. I don't know what the budget for the movie is, but it obviously the money's on the screen there. Like it's a big bombastic summer blockbuster movie. You know, it's doing all the things that you want for a mindless action movie. I ate like a pound of popcorn while I was watching this.
I mean,
to get that feeling. The lacking parts, characters and depth.
Yeah.
Like those are my main criticisms of the film. Is that it's very much lacking like character depth.
Yeah, I don't. This was a $115 million budget movie, which I think is a lot for the early 2000s.
Oh yeah,
because now they get up into like the billions with those stupid Marvel movies. But actually, I guess before I go into my sort of process of viewing the movie, I'll talk about my own bottom line because it's pretty much all in line with what you said.
Yeah,
there's this is a interesting film production, like historical artifact to me.
Okay,
because it coming out in 2001 and with like big budget, but I don't know if that's like mega blockbuster budget. I don't know if we're talking like that's in the same tier as like a Spielberg, summer
I think it's
blockbuster.
about on par.
They like we'd already had I guess episode 1 of Star Wars came out.
That's
episode
right.
2 came out the year after this. So we'd already seen bad CGI, like endless budget bad CGI, like George Lucas, like, I think we can do better with computers than practical effects now. And this movie honestly did a pretty tasteful balance of the two. Like there were moments where I was like, yeah, that's not the greatest CGI, but they didn't expect it to be upscaled to 4K 20 years later.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah. I'm watching it on a 65-inch screen. And I'm just like 2 feet away from it, and just like, whoa.
So that is absolutely like where my praise comes from, and maybe I'll get more specific, but I want to offer up for the audience the way I viewed the film.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm gonna be honest. I gave it my full attention, but my attention was divided by I right before watching it took I think the largest dose of edibles I've ever taken.
Right.
And then so I just pulled up for anybody on YouTube my commentary.
Yes.
My commentary transcript. So the
full transcripts will be available on patreon.com/videogames.
It can be. I don't know. Why not? Or I could put the audio track and you could play it along with the movie.
Oh, nice. Yes.
So I got these new wireless mics for work, and it was like that day that I got them. So I was like kind of running them through their paces and like just testing out and learning all the features. And they're you could just clip it on and hit a button and it just records straight onto the mic.
Rocks.
So I was like, I'll just clip it on and I'll just watch this movie the same way I like do commentary for like a stream of a game for the podcast.
That's right.
But I was also on 20 milligrams of edibles, which is a lot for me. And so I figure what we'll do is I will, I will try to just, if we're going to attempt to go through the movie, I'll just, look at what I said in my commentary here as we go and see if I can make sense of what scene was I talking about? What point was I trying to make?
Yes.
We can have some fun with that because I don't remember almost anything that happened in the movie, but I'm also like pretty sure that's because nothing happens in the movie.
We'll get to it. Okay. We'll get to it. I to counter my method of preparation to review this film is I broke the film down into essentially what did we get? I think I ended at 11 scenes in total in this film.
That's hilarious.
And I'm also not I have written screenplays, but I'm not a professional, and I don't know if what my what I mandate as a scene really counts, or if I'm being completely, amateur.
No, that does feel about right though.
Mm-hmm.
There were moments that I was like, this is in some ways paced like the games.
Yeah.
Except
yeah.
except if the cutscenes ran 10 times longer than necessary.
If Hideo Kojima made a Tomb Raider game.
Okay, we'll get there. Maybe do we want to attempt to do this like scene by scene?
It's just, I think it's more important for us to just talk about like what the movie made like what our takeaway is from watching this movie. Here at Camp Video Games, we do have a tendency to summarize or often take longer than the actual film is to talk about it. But we'll just let this flow as we go.
Yeah.
But Josh, what's the plot of Lara Croft Tomb Raider?
Time and clocks.
Yes.
That's about all I remember.
Yeah.
Oh, and the triangle.
Yes. The all-seeing eye.
I asked myself like a dozen times throughout the movie. I kept going, are they literally calling the MacGuffin just the triangle? And it was. Like I had to check the Wikipedia to make sure they were saying the triangle over and over again.
So Lara Croft takes on the Illuminati to recover an artifact that uses the alignment of the planets to create a time rift.
Yeah,
that is the plot of Lara Croft Tomb Raider.
And it only happens once every 5,000 years or something?
5,000 years.
Yeah.
And for some reason, this is where I'm gonna need a little assistance on what the fuck happened in this movie, because we should mention the rest of the cast.
Yeah.
Because
one more note on the triangle before we go.
Go for it.
Just because I've pulled up my own commentary. It's hilarious. It's just like it'll be a couple words and there's just a ton of dots the way my transcription software works. I just went, the triangle? They're trying to get the triangle? This is dumb as hell. I love it. Oh, it's so stupid.
Pretty much. I mean, do we say the same about the Triforce though? Like it's really just like it's a artifact that
at least
grants
they tried though. They didn't just say the three triangles.
Yeah.
They made up a fun word for it at least.
They call it the all-seeing eye a lot as well.
Yeah, maybe.
But this movie, okay, so we've talked in the previous episode about how like Lara Croft is the video game industry's equivalent to James Bond / Indiana Jones, right? Like, just like this like incredible like sleuth, do it all kind of adventurer.
Yeah.
And this movie has James Bond in it. It's got Daniel Craig.
Yeah, so I thought he was a bad guy until literally the last scene.
He's got gray. he's a shifting morality kind of character.
I spent half the movie going, is that Daniel Craig? And then the other half going, wait, is Daniel Craig a bad guy?
He's a scumbag. He's a Han Solo. He's a scoundrel. He's a betrayer. He's not trustworthy. He like switches sides twice in the movie.
Yeah.
But we got Daniel Craig playing the kind of antagonistic, romantic, co-star to Angelina.
Dude, it's so weird. Can we talk about like the way her as like a sexual being is played? Because this is like right in the beginning of the movie.
The movie starts with, it starts with a cool action scene, but then it goes right into a shower.
And then you find out
scene.
it was just a training sequence.
I hate that shit. You want to just go through the scenes? I got them written down, pretty much summarized.
Yeah, we don't need to say that much more about those scenes, but I did want to get to like this shower scene thing where like she has male,
but she's got a butler and an IT guy,
and like the way her sexuality is played is that she's like, I just walk around naked in front of all these men.
She's not lady.
And yeah, like that's their way of being like, oh, she's not ladylike. But it's weird that like, I don't know, but it doesn't seem like sensual or
No.
sexy
No.
at either.
No, it's like
it's very confusing.
It's kind of like a child. Like she's very childish.
Yeah.
She's got this kind of like I don't know where she's also very got some strong Batman vibes to her too, with having a British butler who's like seeing to her needs and also like has like a danger room and robots and an IT guy.
And I kind of like dislike her like that for the same reasons I dislike Batman. Is like, oh, you're rich and your parents died. Oh, boo hoo. I feel so bad for you. Like, yeah, no, I don't. Whatever.
The nudity is not like she does not exhibit like a sexual appetite or any sort of like sensual likeness. Like she is a blank slate. She's kind of vapid and like just has this like vacant look in her eyes, and she knows she's being naughty when she's doing these bad girl things. And like, it's just like it's a little it's I would assume this was written by a man.
Was it not?
I would assume it was.
God, I mean, like it's I felt sticking to this like shower scene.
Yeah.
I felt like from conception to what we saw in the film, the entire idea is like, what we want teenage boys to go, I wish I was that butler.
Yeah. Oh, fun fact: the butler.
Like, there's no character development to any of this. It's just for that titillation, and it's so stupid.
I remember the butler's name is Hillary. I think, and I mean, I don't know if they're like doing a little coding. They're like, the reason they don't want to fuck her is because they're gay. But like, I kind of think that's a part of it is, you know, because they're so British, weird. So they're all gay, right? Like,
yeah, it's so weird. It's so bad. I hate it. Like they managed to make a female-led film that is purely just like
with a male gaze.
Yeah, purely male gazy. The entire film felt like I was the mass production Ava units devouring Asuka's Unit 2 in End of Evangelion.
That's a visual for you. Okay, let's break down the first scene, because like it's a great intro for a dumb action film. Like Lara Croft, she Mission Impossibles to Indiana Jones a diamond, but then she has to the Matrix a Terminator so that she can listen to hard bass.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were taking all of these tropes from very successful movies at that point, because the Matrix was 99, and I believe, and like so that was already in the zeitgeist. But like she's doing like the Tom Cruise like dangling from a wire stuff,
and there's like a lot of good like jungle drum and bass.
That's right. That's like that hard bass I'm talking about.
I've noted that like when she comes out after this and is like talking to her guy that's supposed to be like Q or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's just like rocking this like heavy jungle beat. I was like, okay, this is good. This is of the moment,
dude. Jungle is like the UK's greatest contribution to music. But yeah, so she's got her danger room and she is practicing stealing artifacts. Like, and
you're a rich British person. This is your destiny.
It'd be so funny if she wore a pith helmet, like just like the classic like UK adventurer. But like she's got a Terminator rope. It actually, talking about like the Phantom Menace, like it looks like a battle droid, like one of the big bad ones that had the shields and stuff. Like it's cool. It's like a 4 or 6 armed robot that's got buzzsaws and all this stuff, and like she shoots the shit out of it. It's cool. It's cool when guns shoot off in movies. Like that's why dumb people like movies a lot, because like, whoa, she shot that. That's cool.
Yeah, this might be another point to make note of, like, why this movie felt, honestly, like, refreshing in some ways.
Okay.
That's
not the word I would use for it, but go for it.
Despite, like, the fact that the entire thing front to back is written for the male gaze, the part, the violence factor was a nice, like, refreshment from, like, I can't think of like the last time in a major blockbuster I saw somebody just firing real guns all over the fucking place.
Yeah, while on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Love it.
So like props for that. Even though like there was no question at the time, but now like you just won't see that because the the U.S. military and the CIA that pays for our movies, they want you to not think about how violent war is because they want you to sign up and go to war for them.
That's an interesting take.
I will now take my tinfoil hat off, but I'm 100% right.
I'll buy it. I think the director Simon West had something to do with Black Hawk Down, actually. But okay, so Lara Croft, she shoots her robot to death. The IT guy is very protective of the robot, and he's like, what's the robot's name? I think it was like Simon or something.
Oh, who cares?
It's cool. I like when robots have names. Yeah, the robot's name is Simon.
But also, like, if you're gonna give the robot a name, it should be threatened at some point in the film. There should be a stake there that you've made me invest in this robot emotionally. Put it at risk.
I like that. I do. But Laura's
Chekhov's robot.
Laura's the risk. She shoots it to death. And then the guy mourns its like destruction. And then it's not available to protect the home later when they get raided.
Guess that's a good point.
But okay, so she's stolen the fake diamond, she's destroyed her own property, then she takes the shower. The butler, Hillary, he's very, I mean, he fills that Alfred role pretty well, where he's like a protective, doting, loyal butler, you know, and he's like laying clothes out for Laura to wear, and he's always trying to get her to wear a dress and some what do you call them, like high heels, shoes, stuff. And like Laura's just like, that's hilarious. Like, I would wear that. It's like, well, you bought it. Like, like I don't know.
And it's also foreshadowing of the end.
Oh, I know. And it's a very dumb ending.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've got all the pieces in play. Like, Laura's dad is missing. Her mom's dead. Her butler loves her. Her IT guy seems to just like, he's either like on the DL or he's like very much like playing, like putting his blinders on whenever Laura's like trotting around naked in the thing. I don't know if she shows up naked bizarre in front of the IT guy. It might just be Hillary. But
Hillary. Can't get over that.
So that's the first scene, as I would put it. Second scene, we open up in Venice, Italy. I was like, oh, thanks for clarifying. Venice, Italy.
Why don't we, if I may cut to my commentary transcript for a second here.
Sure, derail.
Yeah, no, just let me, very, very, I have a lot to contribute here. Where during this whole sequence, my thoughts were, shit, yes, dude, Lord Richard Croft, the Duchess of Croft. Is that her dad?
I guess so. That's John Voight. Did we mention that John Voight's her dad in this movie?
Yeah.
I don't know if we were talking about it before.
Did we have a flashback to her with her dad in this scene?
I didn't.
Because this
was
this was a critique I had throughout the movie. Is there was so much goddamn telling versus showing.
Sure.
Where they would have these flashback scenes to show how much she cared about her dad.
I love my daddy.
That would go on and on. And I think there's one scene, I don't know if it was this one, but at some point where I was just like every like third line, I was like, oh my God, there's more. Oh my God, there's more.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like every scene where there's dialogue is 10 times longer than it needs to be. But they had to hit 90 minutes.
They
barely couldn't keep paying for action sequences, so they just wrote the thing to death. And who knows what the fuck they said. Yeah, and then at this point I realized I was too high to play Balatro, so I on my Switch, so I was totally tuned into just the movie. Oh, it's so sick, dude. It's this roguelike poker game.
What?
If you got a Switch, go download. It's like $15.
Say the name again?
Balatro.
Okay.
It's awesome. It's hard to explain. You're given like 7 or 8 cards and you have to make poker hands out of them. But then they're like worth points and multipliers, and then you get each round you can like buy new like in a roguelike you might call them boons for your deck. So you can get these jokers that add multipliers, and it's just like it like spins out. So It's a very cool way to turn a poker into a roguelike.
That's a really interesting concept.
Yeah, it's sort of like the indie darling of the last few months.
Well, there's the
anyway,
the
there's
Camp
a
Video Games
recommendation for
seal of approval.
Yeah. But I had to tune into the movie. I couldn't do both at the same time.
Yeah, while being violently high as well. Okay, Venice, Italy. They had to specify that it was Venice, Italy. I was like, this isn't Venice, Florida, that I'm looking at this like ancient like palazzo or whatever. This is where they set up the antagonists of the movie. It's the Illuminati, and they are talking about the 15th of May. The planets will align. It only happens every 5,000 years, and we need the key, which is lost. And we got Ian Glenn plays Mr. Powell, who's like the main, he's not the main bad guy, I guess, because the Illuminati is the main bad guy. He's the underling hired by the Illuminati. But Ian Glenn's in the Resident Evil movies, which was fun. He, if you're not familiar, he plays Jorah Mormont on Game of Thrones, which I think was his big revitalization of his career that put him in front of the most faces on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Ian Glenn's basically he's got what's up with his little sidekick, Mr. Pims? Do you remember that? Just a weird secondary character who had very little impact on this.
Every character that was not Angelina Jolie and her butler and tech guy, because I was able to be oh, I get this. Okay, James Bond, Batman.
Yep.
I get these dynamics. Everything outside of that, I was I don't know, some white guy.
They all look the same.
I was just they're all generally villains, but kind of not really. Because there's a lot of scenes where they come face to face and they're pointing guns at each other, and they're but they just talk at each other. It's so weird.
It's the discount James Bond movie. They understand, they've watched the movies, they understand what they like about them, but they might not have mastered all of the necessary plotting and developments to make it effective. Where it's just they're just doing what they saw in James Bond movies without really any of the gravitas.
So, I believe when we go to Venice, that's the scene where she goes to the auction house, right?
No.
Oh, is that later?
No, Laura's still in England right now. Venice is that's where we see the Illuminati talking about they need the key.
Dang it.
The next scene,
I'll come back to this later. Then.
The next scene, Laura's in Croft Manor, and she's sad and looking at a telescope. And this is where we get the first
this is where we start
flashback.
God, getting into the dad shit.
Yeah, because
my God,
the butler again. He's he brings this is great. He brings a bunch of portfolios to Laura. He's "Oh, do you want to go on an adventure to Egypt or perhaps to Spain and get some galleons?" And Laura's just "Oh, I'm sad because it's the anniversary of my daddy going missing and I've missed him, and also the planets are aligning on May 15th. And he's "I know." The butler
character development.
Yeah, and then we get some flashback with John Voight as her dad. And I don't understand what happened to him. We'll get some more scenes with him later, but it's just he just went missing when the planets aligned, but obviously not during the 5,000, or he went missing on May 15th, but not when the planets were aligned, because that happens every 5,000 years. I still don't really get what happened to him.
Yeah, and at this point we're probably 15, 20 minutes into the movie.
That's
and other than the opening minute, it's just been people talking about what happened before.
The planets will align, and then we could do bad boy things.
It drags so hard.
So Laura is she hears a clock ticking that's in a secret room under her stairs. I think Croft Manor is a pretty cool set. It's a beautiful mansion. I can't afford it. I covet it. But
I don't. That's too much upkeep.
That's true. The fucking property tax will just kill you. But Laura she finds the secret clock in the secret room in what would have been Harry Potter's bedroom. And let's see. We got Laura's this is where we learn that her mom is dead. And Laura brings the clock to the IT guy, right? And he's doing what like a proper IT guy would do if he's disassembling something. He's like, okay, screw number 13 was in the 4th quadrant, and he's like putting all aside. And Laura, just being the badass that she is, she's like, it's what is she? It's like a mask, or it's a mask or something. And like she like smashes the clock, and inside the clock there's the all-seeing eye MacGuffin.
The triangle.
It's like
is this the triangle?
I think it's like a part of it, because there's like there's 2 pieces of the triangle, and it needs to be connected. And I think it's one half of it, or it's a different part of it. There's whatever.
The MacGuffin stuff, it's like, for better or worse, this is where they did kind of stick to what was set up and like the way the story was told in the first game that we just reviewed, that like
the Scion or the Scion thing?
The Scion. It's just like, oh, here's a MacGuffin, and then you find out like at the very end, like, oh, there's this ancient stuff attached to it, and she has that vision or whatever. It's like, okay, yeah, I guess this is Tomb Raider, but like that wasn't the thing that was good about Tomb Raider in the first place.
Not at all. You know, I was also thinking like this is a pretty interesting role that an adaptation tends to make in terms of like video game adaptations, where it's original story using pre-existing IP, right? It's not a remake of the game or any, you know, it's kind of the necessity for adaptations in a lot of ways. Like this is a podcast where we talk about like, you know, what gets lost in the translation, or maybe just like what it retains is a lot of the core gameplay elements. But the appeal of the Tomb Raider game is, to me, is the exploration and like just like the introduction to 3D gaming for a lot of people, and having the ability to like look around you and not just have like this like flat image. Like that's the gorgeous best parts about Tomb Raider, is just like the feeling of being lost in an unfamiliar place. This movie doesn't really do that much tomb raiding.
Yeah. No, I just kept yelling, like, just raid a goddamn tomb already.
Okay, so okay. The title again. Lara Croft, Tomb Raider.
Right.
It's an accusation almost. It's like Lara Croft is a Tomb Raider. I point my finger at you.
Send her to the Hague.
J'accuse. And did you catch that they said the words Tomb Raider a few times in the movie?
No, but but I'm sure they did.
There's one of them actually made me laugh out loud, because Daniel Craig at one point, he was like, 2 Tomb Raiders are better than 1. And it's just like, shut the fuck up. So Laura gets this MacGuffin that she finds. The next scene, she goes to the auction house. We are introduced
the auction house
to Daniel Craig.
Does that scene open with him getting coffee? I'm trying to make sense of my commentary. This is where I think I first really started nailing down, like, wow, this pacing is dog shit.
I think you're overestimating what my notes are.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure, correct me if you are a Lara Croft Tomb Raider obsessive.
And also my condolences.
I think it's like this scene, it opens maybe with Daniel Craig. Like somebody's like getting coffee and is like, I'll have a vanilla something latte.
Oh, that's the IT guy.
Okay, it's that guy.
That's the IT guy. Like, he wants his coffee.
And then his coffee's like getting made. And then it's being served to him. Like, oh my God, they had nothing. They had nothing. They were just padding out so hard.
I'm glad you brought this up, because there's again, and like, I don't want to like keep poking this like this snake in the gut, but like, I think this is some slightly shaded like homophobic stuff, because he gets
because he's getting a latte.
He's getting
in 2001,
decaf, and
he's a soft boy. He's a soy boy.
Hillary kind of like breaks the fourth wall and like looks at the camera and does like a little. You get it? Like I do believe that, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I did not take a note on that, but that wasn't I inferred that.
Yeah, I was just like so tuned in to how poorly paced it was.
Oh, I was tuned in. So Laura takes the MacGuffin to an auction house.
Yeah.
And there's like an old what's his name? Mr. Wilson is her dad's friend that works at the auction house.
Yeah.
And she sits down like a badass in the auction house, right?
Yeah,
she,
right.
Like, takes up 2 seats. She's
God
like,
dang it.
Like looking at the British like old guy next to her, and she's like, what? Like taking up 2 seats, putting her feet up on the seat in front of her. And then Mr. Wilson waves at her. And she waves back, but the auctioneer is like, okay, and $2.5 million to the lovely lady in the thing. She basically accidentally like bid on an antique clock that was selling for $2.5 million. And this is right after she destroyed an antique clock that was that could have been sold for a couple $1 million, which I think is interesting. Your idea that like this is a movie just about clocks is true. Like the clock is ticking. Maybe that's the joke. Is they're like, we got to fill time. The clock is ticking. Like we need to fill screen time.
Even down to the writing process. It was about time and clocks.
Time is money, baby.
Yeah, my notes. I think I was like saying what I wish the movie was.
Okay.
Like, I said, "Oh hell yeah, crash through this rich bitch auction house and smash the parliament with your motorcycle."
Yeah.
Nah, and then I was like, "Oh no, she's just there to buy something."
Yeah, no, she's there to confer with Mr. Wilson, who's I guess he was an old colleague of her father's. And
I think I just in general wanted it to like I think this like Lara Croft as a character in a series, whatever, I think could work if it was like the original. Like we talked about the concept art being more elusive to like or alluding to Tank Girl type aesthetic and attitude. Like I would enjoy that character. But this is like rich woman that you're supposed to be like, oh, I like her tits. I'm just like I'm so little invested.
She needs to be more chaotic lawful. Like right now she's just like neutral lawful. Like I don't know. I
don't know.
She's in this movie. Lara Croft is not an interesting person.
No.
And that is the script's fault. Like they could have done so much to add a little bit of humanity to her.
That's you said pretty much that's exactly like what I was getting at. Yeah. Anyway, so onward.
Then we're introduced to her old flame. I don't think I wrote his name down, but we'll call him Daniel Craig.
We'll call him Daniel Craig. I was this is the point I was going, is that the poor man's Daniel Craig? Or is that just what he looked like 20 years ago?
He looks so good, too. And this movie has 2 shower scenes, one with Lara Croft and one with Daniel Craig. And, like, I think this movie could have, like, sold him as James Bond. Because, like, he is so hot. And, like, Daniel Craig is cut. And he's one of the best parts of this movie, in my take on it. But, like, basically a kind of adversarial aspect to their relationship between Laura and Daniel Craig. 007. But okay, MacGuffin, the old man, Mr. Wilson, he basically won't help Laura with it. Like he sends her off. He's like, sorry, I don't know what to do about that. But then we see something behind his eyes where he's like struggling. Then we see him like aggressively chug some wine.
Yeah.
And like twice. We see him chugging port twice, which is like okay. At least we didn't see him like, excuse me, I have to go to the wine shop to buy a bottle of port, and then we follow him and we see him buy the wine. At least they didn't do that.
Yeah, yeah. You know? So this is maybe a good point to bring up my commentary that I don't know why I said it at this point in the movie, but I said, look at this Christopher Columbus ass Harry Potter movie ass. Which is actually a compliment. That was one of my strongest compliments of this movie, is that it feels like those early Harry Potter movies in its like art direction.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
And I think it's like the end of an era. It's the end of people being willing to spend any time or effort on any practical props, effects. I even said, like, during the auction scene, I was like, oh my God, look at all these extras they paid.
Yeah, sure.
They actually paid people to just show up and be in the background. It's not the 5, superheroes in their suits just talking at each other.
Being an extra, I've been an extra in a couple of films, and it fucking rules. It is the easiest job, and it pays pretty good, and there's free food, and you get to, like, spend most of your time just talking to people, like that have very little to do with the film industry. While we're all experiencing like, oh, look, there's there's the director. Oh my God, don't look at him. Like, that
Right,
kind of
right.
stuff. Being an extra rules.
Did Wilson do anything else cool? Because my notes say Wilson fucking rips, dude. Wilson's having children with me. Yes. And then they got Wilson. What? Was that a gag? What?
Wait, so
I don't know what happens with Wilson. Maybe I just like that he drank port without making a big deal out of it.
yeah. Well, so basically, like, Wilson sees this artifact and he knows what it is, but he doesn't want to betray Laura. But he ends up betraying Laura because Laura leaves after he's like, sorry, I don't know anything about it. But then Laura gets a phone call and Wilson's like, hey, I gave your information to Mr. Powell, who might know something about the MacGuffin. And I think Laura, I mean, if I was Laura, I'd be like, you should have given me Mr. Powell's information and not the other way around. Like, I'm a billionaire. Like, you don't just give my number out to people. But I'm also a very reclusive, person.
Yeah, this is the point where I just started screaming. We're 25 minutes in, nothing's happened.
That's true.
This sucks so bad. A clock. It's 25 minutes into the movie, and we're talking about a clock. The clock. The clocks. The clocks. I just started screaming clocks.
Oh, the humanity. So there was a fun gag here where Laura gets the phone call from Powell, and she's microwaving like a TV dinner while it happens. And as soon as she hangs up, her microwave dinner like explodes. And I think that's actually
yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you for reminding me.
It's actually some good like indirect storytelling where it's like Mr. Powell has just sold you out and it's going to lead to violence. And like it's like, okay, thank you for your help. Goodbye. Click. Boom. Like, and it's doing a couple of things. It's doing some good, like that's actually some good narrative. Like that actually works for me. And it's showing us that Lara Croft does not cook. She does not clean. She is an undomesticated heiress. And
she eats shitty processed food, but still
just
has
like you boys.
36 double Ds.
That's right.
With not an ounce of fat on her.
Nope, not.
That's what that stuff in my commentary about. Like, did they get Wilson? And then I went, oh, that was a gag. It was pretty good.
Yeah, it worked. It worked really well.
It's like you're supposed to think like Wilson was murdered right before they hung up the phone, but it was actually her dinner finishing.
Yeah,
it was
good
good
stuff.
I'll take it.
And then after the phone call, we go back to Mr. Wilson, and he's chugging some port. He is like wrestling with his demons right now. Good stuff, honestly. Like, I appreciate what they were doing there. Let's see. Next scene, Laura and Powell meet at his like. So Powell. That's Ian Glenn. And she goes to Powell's like palace. I think he's in Venice. So now Laura's gone to Venice, and he's got like guards everywhere that are like expecting her, but he's also having kind of like a Gatsby type of soiree around him. He's very much an opulent, rich man I think he's technically a lawyer in the movie, but when Laura's like, are you a clock lawyer or something? He's like, no, it's an obsession. But Laura did not bring the MacGuffin with her. She brought pictures of the MacGuffin. And Powell, she's like, do you know anything about this? And Powell's line, this is his like James Bond villain line. He says, my ignorance amuses me. She's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? But basically, like, Laura has now like given herself up almost in a way. She's exposed that she has the MacGuffin, and she's directly exposed it without bringing it. So because if she had brought it, he would have just killed her, taken it, then gone to the Illuminati. But Laura's a little savvy, at least. She's got resources, and she's got some strategic thinking. Mr. Powell is a bad villain. He's not.
I wasn't even like I've been saying. I'm not even sure who the villains were.
Yeah, it's definitely Powell. He'll prove his villainy later. But he's always portrayed as like a man of leisure who's like getting like. I mean, he might as well be in like an opium den. Like he's just like always like getting massaged and like all of this like things to show his wealth and like his like. He likes to be comfortable. He doesn't like to get his hands dirty. Back at Croft Manor, Laura and the IT guy, they discuss the fact that like Laura's like, Powell's a liar. He knows exactly what I have and he won't tell me. And therefore, like, I suspect some foul play coming. And then this is where she does her bungee jumping around.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
This is where I was finally like, okay, this is a good movie.
This is what sells you on it?
Not when she started her weird bungee jumping exercise, but when it turned into an action scene.
Oh yeah.
That's where I went, oh, they had a budget. They had ideas.
Yeah.
I was just screaming, like, I was just, start the movie here.
Well, they got
the rest of this could have been shown in a 30-second flashback. It was.
Oh, also, just today, as the day of recording, Netflix announced that the Tomb Raider animated series is going to premiere in October.
Oh, all right.
Let's just title this like "What to Know Before Watching Netflix's Tomb
Raider." No, I said this should have been the first scene of the movie. The movie shouldn't have started until this scene. This is awesome. They actually rigged this up. They rigged a room up with stuff. Yes. I think because they have like some kind of like explosive squib type stuff, not like blood squibs, but like smoke stuff's going off.
Sure.
When like because
it's a set on a movie. They got their special effects.
They made a real set with special effects that were triggered by pyrotechnic artists, and I was like, I would watch this movie.
Yeah. To set the scene, like Laura's like she's like doing like therapeutic bungee jumping. It seems like meditative for her. She puts some Bach on, and she's bungee jumping around, and then her house. Let's call the movie Home Raider.
Yeah, it's raided by Pal Boys. Is that who these guys are?
Yeah, they just look like a SWAT team, but they're working on Powell's behalf.
Yeah,
and it turns into a pretty lengthy scene of Laura just shooting people, which totally rips.
Which I'm in for. Yeah. That's the movie I came to see. And it took me 30 minutes to get there.
And it's happening during a big thunderstorm. The SWAT team like locks the IT guy in his trailer, which he lives in a trailer in her yard, I think, which is cool. I think I like the IT guy a lot, actually. I'm sad I don't remember his name right now, but he's living a very modern like incel life. Like he's just like talking to his robots like they're
making
people,
the best of it,
and he's just like always online. He's just he's more comfortable around robots than he is.
Yeah, we would have called him a hacker at the time.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So the SWAT invasion, and then Laura's jumping around and like cutting people's ropes as they're breaking in through her ceiling or whatever. Oh yeah, okay. So it gets to a point where Laura is like in her like armory / garage, and she's like ducking around. She's avoiding them because she doesn't have any weapons. And then the IT guys got her on comm, and then we got some Metal Gear Solid shit going on where he's like doing her recon for her while she's sneaking around and trying to like improvise a weapon.
Yep.
And the weapon that she improvises is like an air compressor, and she puts a screwdriver into the air compressor and uses that as the projectile. And she takes out a couple of SWAT members with screwdrivers. And I just love that like there was a brief stealth part of this.
I don't know. I'm going through my commentary. It was not in this scene, but since you mentioned Metal Gear Solid, I did at some point make the comment of like somebody or someone's working on this movie was a fan of Metal Gear Solid and wanted to try to convert some elements of that to film. I don't think they succeeded, but I was like, I see you and I see you making an effort.
Yeah.
You just missed.
What do you think about it specifically? Like, do you remember like what kind of led to that?
I'm kind of following through my commentary as we go, so I might maybe I'll recall when I said it.
Yeah, because that is an interesting take. Because Metal Gear Solid 1998, so they had time to appreciate that before the film started production. Oh my God, the butler. Hillary, right? Okay, so he hears all this gunfire down there. He's in his pajamas. He straps on a flak jacket, and he's got a shotgun. And it's just like it was such. I mean, like I cheered by myself, mouthful of popcorn, just like yeah,
feed it to me.
This butler, this like kind of effeminate British butler, who like you don't expect to see like the. Like I never mind. Like you see Alfred like kick a lot of ass in Batman stuff. Like he tends to throw down pretty well.
Yeah.
But it was like the butler Hillary like slips his little like dress slippers on and then cocks the shotgun.
Yeah,
it's just so funny to me.
that's like that's a fun little trope of the old, doting man goes, I need to be hardcore too right now.
Yeah. What like stoically, like completely like he's not like freaked out or anything. He's like, oh, time to kill some men with a shotgun. Click, click.
Like in a way that you go, oh yeah, that guy's seen some shit.
Yeah, that's a good inference. So I want a standalone film of the Butler.
Yeah,
like I think he could
just call it The Butler.
That's got to be a movie, right? Like,
there's the one. There is The Butler.
Yeah.
But that's like about I don't know, like a black guy that was a butler for rich people or the president or something. It's not the same butler.
So there's no Lara Croft in that one?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there's any.
Not interested.
I don't think there's any scenes of anybody bungee jumping in the middle of their multi-million-dollar mansion while gunning goons down.
Let's see. Oh yeah. So the SWAT team, they steal the MacGuffin. Like that's why they went there, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And but there's a great scene where Laura's on the motorcycle and she's got her SMG and it's just fucking like.
Is that in this scene?
Yeah.
Okay, that's I think when I was just like, I'm dialed in.
Yeah,
this is my shit right here.
It's again like,
but it took me 30 minutes to get there.
impressive action scenes. Like this is made by people who know how to shoot action well.
Yeah.
It's a fine. The movie's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
I have no idea what after this scene happens for the next like 5 to 10 minutes, but I know I was angry.
Oh, good.
Because I just this is the point I said. Oh yeah, these scenes are 5 times longer than they need to be. Who cares? What, I'm supposed to care because her parents are dead? What are the stakes? I love that she has no one to talk to about any of this. It's like porn acting. Who cares? Go raid a goddamn tomb.
Yes, right. Because we're like halfway through the movie. Not a single tomb in sight.
But I do want to. I do want to double down on the thing about like she has no one to talk to about this. She has no friends.
No,
like
she only has hired help.
She has hired help, and like that is a big part of why the characterization is so flat and shallow and doesn't go beyond like serving the male gaze. It's like I was like, does this even pass the Bechdel test? No, this movie starring a woman
I really don't think
as the
so.
action hero, because she never talks to anyone in a way that's like dealing with her feelings in the present. We have lots of flashbacks with her dad of like, oh, I loved being my daddy's little girl.
Yeah.
And
Josh,
now he's
there's
gone.
not another woman in this movie. I'm just realizing that there's not another woman in this movie. It's so all men and Laura.
Yeah,
right? Like there's
sucks.
There's there's a little girl at when she finally raids a tomb. So okay, I'll backtrack a little bit, but there's not a adult peer of a woman in this movie.
Yeah,
there's a picture of her dead mom.
So if you remember anything that was happening in the next 5 to 10 minutes after that action scene that we all enjoyed, feel free to fill me in, because that's all I had.
Okay, so the next scene, Powell receives the MacGuffin, and he's like, that's good. And then we cut back to Croft Manor the day after it got decimated by the SWAT team, and a UPS driver, which she lives in England. Is the UPS in England? I don't know. Like that, now I'm just making that connection. I'm like, wait, she lives in the UK. I don't know if UPS operates in the UK.
United Kingdom Parcel Service.
The UKPS. So the UPS delivers a message sent from beyond the grave by Laura's dad. That is a William Blake quote. I did not write the quote down, but it was basically like all of time in a grain of sand, I think.
Is this where like her dad is reading something? Is that this part?
It's a message read in her dad's voice.
Yeah, and it goes. This is the part where I was like, "Oh my god!" It goes on and on,
basically,
and on.
What it is it's a cryptic clue for Laura to go to the Croft family library, open up the William Blake book, and in the back of the book is a secret message that is hidden behind the binding. So she cuts the book open, and then she gets the real letter from her dad, who's like, "Oh, I knew you were smart enough to do this.
Yeah.
You're my dad. You're daddy's girl, and I need you to save the world." with
this is the worst pacing I've ever seen in a film.
So
I was dying laughing as that narration from her dad was happening, that every few words I was like, oh my god, there's more, there's more, he keeps going, and none of this matters.
It's like in an Indiana Jones movie, I mean Steven Spielberg's a bit better of a director than Simon West.
Well, and also this guy Simon West, he's dealing with an IP that at this point, again, had been marketed as nothing more than a sex object.
That's true. But they're doing their diligence to building up the lore of the MacGuffin.
Yeah.
Right? We're asking what are the stakes? They're trying to tell us, but they're doing a bad job in keeping us entertained while they do it. But the Triangle of Light, it's a artifact that's forged of meteor during the last alignment, and it caused destruction due to misuse. And so it was broken into two pieces, and they were put on opposite sides of Hyrule, or the world. And so basically, it's just a race to get the pieces, so that whoever puts it together, it's got to be in the right hands, and of course, the right hands are Laura's. The next piece is it's basically the race. It's a race to Cambodia. For the alignment of the planets.
For a holiday there.
Josh, what do you know about the Illuminati? It seems like are Masons Illuminati? I don't understand what Illuminati means. It's just people of light, right? That's
it was during the Enlightenment. I don't know how organized it was, but I do believe there was some semblance of organization. And this is me trying to remember from 10 years ago when it was everybody was obsessed with conspiracy theories about the Illuminati. So I was the nerd who actually learned a little bit to debunk what people had to say. If I recall, there was some loose maybe affiliation of people during the Enlightenment who were the church is hunting people down for trying to learn, basically. And we are sort of we organize as people who think it's okay to learn.
Oh, I kind of like that. Okay.
I don't know if that's 100% right, but that's basically the gist of Illuminati. Right.
Anyway.
Anybody who knows that song is Illuminati.
I've born in the light of Rick Astley. Okay. If it's anti-church, I'm in.
I'm pretty sure that was the general idea was oh, the church doesn't want us doing science. So out of solidarity, let's have a little organization that is no, we want to do some science. We want to learn.
Let's dissect some bodies.
Yeah.
Figure out how to heal.
Yeah. Feel free to correct me. Cause again, this is me 10 years ago reading shit.
And if you'd like to correct us, go over to patreon.com/campvideogames where you can correct us for $5 a month.
Those are the only comments we'll read.
Okay, so the next scene, Laura's Jeep is getting airlifted onto the Cambodian ruins, and she called in a favor because apparently there was a photo that we see at some point of Laura and Daniel Craig in a military unit together. I'm how old's Laura? How old's Angelina Jolie at this point? Okay, so this is 2001.
She's probably 28 is my guess.
That's a good guess. Let's, never mind. But so Daniel Craig and Laura, they're old combat buddies. Apparently, that explains why. That might explain why they know each other. They have a past. I don't know if it's ever specifically hinted at romance, but there's some tension between them.
Yeah. Side note, I was almost exactly right. She would have been 27-ish.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
27. Okay. So she was born in 74?
75.
Okay.
Yeah.
So another movie that this is definitely taken some of the same steam. It's the Brendan Fraser The Mummy movies.
Yeah.
That's the same basic scale and
yeah.
And I love those movies.
For my memory, this looks honestly a little better than those.
The Scorpion King is the only movie I've ever walked out of.
Yeah, I remember that's where the CGI of The Rock that everybody makes fun of. Is that what that is? Yeah.
That might have been the one that they all make fun of, I think, is at the end of one of the Mummy movies. But then they were like, oh, The Rock, he's a big deal, I guess. And
there was a spin-off.
There was
I thought that was
there was
the
a
sequel.
Scorpion King movie.
Oh my God, hilarious.
Spin-off in the same universe. Yeah, I was a teenager and I walked
the Greater Mummy universe.
Yeah. Okay, so Laura's Jeep gets airlifted onto the site, and Powell and Daniel Craig, they hire a bunch of Cambodians to like tear down their temple.
Yeah, this was so weird,
It's
man.
so dumb.
In my commentary, I was like, oh, sick. She's about to go raid these like slave drivers and like free all these slaves. And instead she just walks in and she's like, good job getting these slaves to tear down the tomb wall for you.
I too utilize slaves.
It's so bad.
So Laura is like, she's like walking around these ruins and she's like kind of sneaking around. She doesn't want to be seen by Powell and Daniel Craig because obviously like Laura knows that it was Powell who sent the people to steal the MacGuffin. And so she's walking through these Cambodian ruins and finally we see Laura in a proper like setting from the games. And there's a little girl who's like kind of like, mischievously like, ha ha ha, to like leading her from place to place.
So weird.
Hate when movies do that. I hate when movies have kids in them in general, actually.
Did they ever explain the little girl?
I think she was just
a vision? Pure.
It could be one of two things. It could be just a local little girl who is just like being that kind of like mystical native, or it's Laura kind of projecting a psychic version of her younger self, and she's trying to find she's been there with her dad before, because there's some clue in his like message. It was like, go to where the jasmine grows and you will find the truth. And so I think she could be following like her younger self, quote unquote. But I don't know. It doesn't matter.
It was a little ham-fisted, but this is actually in my commentary. I think this is like my favorite note and one of my like highlights of the film.
Yeah.
I'll read what I said, then I'll explain what was. I said, darn, they let somebody have a good time with some of this. They let a man cook. Just let him cook. Let him cook in this corner. Let the gays have a corner. Make the tomb the whole movie. You make the movie out of the tombs.
Yeah.
And I think what I was referring to there is like what they did with across the board with the movie is anytime they went in tight, they actually like let a set designer like have a little bit of time and budget to like detail things and build real practical objects, which is like they don't do that anymore.
And it's infinitely more appealing to the eye to see these real things.
Yes.
And their like their depth and their way the light hits them, and like instead of a manufactured CG background.
Yeah, like there's I don't know if it's this scene, but somewhere from here to the end of the movie, there's a shot where something like falls on her in a way that's like that would have been CGI now, but then you see actual dust kick up off of her, and you're like, oh, they actually physically hit her with something. This is the thing that proves that the moon landing is real. You can't fake dust that well with CGI. Watch their feet when they're walking. The way the dust moves is like there's too much. The weight and the gravity is so correct that like nobody could have faked that.
No, dude. Stanley Kubrick did it.
Yeah.
2001 was an admission of guilt that the moon landing was staged.
Like it's really hard to fake details of environments, and that's why CGI still sucks.
No, because in The Shining, Danny Torrance wore a shirt that said NASA on it, and so it's obvious that Stanley Kubrick was admitting to doing the moon landing. Read your books. You know it. You know it's true. So Laura, she inadvertently raids a tomb because she falls through the floor into a tomb, which happens to be the right place to be.
Mm-hmm.
Powell and Daniel Craig, like they have the key, but they almost squander it because they don't know what to do right. Like they're gonna put it in a false spot for the key to go into. And Laura is just like, give me the key, I'll do it, and we'll deal with the repercussions later. Like, trust me, I know better than you. And for some reason, Powell does trust her, and his like justification, because like Laura's up in the rafters, and like Powell and Daniel Craig are with all their like lackeys who like they like shot at Laura, but then he's like, hold your fire, like let her talk. And Laura convinces them to give her the MacGuffin so that she can put it in the right spot because her daddy told her where to do it because that's what makes her a big smart girl.
Because daddies are so smart. They know
Daddies-
everything. They leave all the clues behind.
Daddy's a genius because he's rich. And with the MacGuffin in place, fucking a bunch of statues come to life.
Oh yeah, dude.
Because do you remember the show Alex
awesome.
Mack? Like where she turns into goo and can do stuff.
Yeah, this is a combo of Alex Mack and Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Yes, yeah, mashup. Because like this Alex Mack goo comes out when she puts in the MacGuffin.
Which like again, I thought like this is tasteful CGI.
Yeah.
This felt not quite as good as Terminator 2, which like the same effect,
which
right?
came out a fucking decade before.
Well, there's that too, but like it didn't feel like they're trying to convince you this is real. I don't know. It just felt like the right level of acceptance for what CGI can do.
Yeah. They did not overly rely on it, and it didn't get distracting, which are the main sins of CG. In
like I looked at it and I was like, yeah, CGI is better now, but like
it's good enough for
I
me.
accepted it.
Yeah.
It was fine. It was good.
It didn't like blatantly age or like date the film.
Yeah.
With the CG. It's some old Hollywood
Which
magic.
is that's the same thing I'd say about like Terminator 2.
Yeah.
You watch Terminator 2 and you don't go, oh wow, this is a shitty old CGI movie.
Not at all.
No.
I really want to talk about Terminator.
Yeah.
It's come up so
yeah, we
much.
should.
I love that movie. And Terminator 1, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then they
Jimmy Cameron, boy.
Yeah, that's the boy.
He's
That's
good
the
at that.
boy.
He good at that stuff.
Hey man, there's that new Avatar game. I could drop 100 hours.
I still need to watch the first Avatar.
So this scene is where they go hog wild with guns.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is like this is a good balance where like
It rocks.
in the original game they're shooting a bunch of animals and the rest of the games they're shooting a bunch of humans. They split the difference and we're like, what if they were human animal hybrid statues?
That's right.
And they're just going ham with guns, which I think this is where in my commentary I said, look what the CIA took away from us. My God, we can't have anything nice. Goddamn military industrial complex had to take away sick movies from us where people use real guns.
God, you are always on this mindset. I remember, so like junior counselor Josh came to my house a couple of months ago and we went to go shoot some guns because that's what we do in America. And Josh has a semi-automatic rifle, and he's like, "This is for if the CIA comes for us, man." I'm just like, "Shut up, man! Shut up!"
They really like they want us to be obsessed with violence, but not face the reality of it. I'm telling you, and it's in the movies now. They control the movies. This is coming from the guy who just debunked the moon landing stuff.
Okay.
You don't know where I'm coming from, man.
It's a fun scene because there's a bunch of guns going off, and you
Yeah,
get to
it
see the
rules.
destruction of the statues. Looks good. Like
A bunch of like stones flying around.
what it looks like if you were to shoot a rock until it blows up.
Yeah.
Like it's fun. And like if you're not like, okay, it's totally understandable if you think there should be more gun legislation because obviously there needs to be. There's a deficit in common sense gun laws in America.
Yeah, no.
But shooting something until it blows up is awesome. It's universally cool. Everyone likes it. Even the most like liberal minded person be like, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, no, I'm the guy. I'm the guy who I hate guns until you take me out to the country and put one in my hand and let me have a target.
Man,
right?
now.
They are fun when used responsibly. But they are tools of death, and I hate them for that. It's very we can have multitudes inside of us.
No, you know what? Let's figure out this gun legislation problem right now.
That's what this podcast is really about. But also in this scene, I screamed at the screen, yes, real vines. They're real vines. She actually interacts with vines.
Yeah, that rocks.
They let some prop designers and set designers who, went to their little theater design and production schools come out and build a real Hollywood prop for the last time ever.
So sick. It looks so good. Like I really enjoyed this part of it. And I was also like pretty drunk by this time I was watching the movie. Oh yeah, for reference, Josh was on edibles and I was drinking beer. But the big statue. The big statue. This is okay. I'm trying to calm down. This is good. it's good that she killed a giant statue because it's a multi-armed like pagoda kind of like I don't remember what deity it's supposed to be like representing, but like like a Ganesh or something along those lines. It's Cambodia. I don't know. I'm not smart, but the robot at the beginning had the same amount of arms as the statue robot. And so it's showing that like Laura's this isn't even new to her.
Yeah.
Like she's like, oh, I killed multi-armed robot things all the time. I just did it at my house not too long ago. But it's a cool fight. Like Laura's just shooting the shit. Oh, I need to look into it. I don't know what kind of guns that Angelina Jolie is shooting in this movie, but they're not familiar to me. Like they looked weird, right? Like when she like racks it back, it's like this full slide that like I'm not familiar with. I've seen it on like 22s, but she's not shooting 22s. She's shooting some bigger bullets than that. But so her guns are kind of unique, and that's cool. I mean, like a lot of the times in like sci-fi action movies, like what the main character is using as their gun is like just as iconic as their performance. It's it's on the posters, it's in all the like iconography. Like you think Terminator 2, you think Arnold Schwarzenegger with that lever action shotgun.
Yep.
Right, and that shit rocks. But with Laura, I thought she used. Well, I'm not trying to talk more about guns, but like she used some sort of Ruger at some point in the movie. I think, whatever. Not talking about it. I'm not smart enough, but. She's got this device on her back that lets her reload both of her pistols at the same time. Do you remember this?
Oh yeah,
this, like,
that's sick.
This like little like brace on her spine like shoots out like a bunch of different magazines that she can like reload. So she can just do quick reloads. And if she fell on that thing would snap her spine. Like there's like it's actually kind of awesome sometimes when cops fall, their like utility belts will break their backs because of all the stuff that they've got on it. Did I say that's awesome? Whoops.
I did.
But yeah, it is pretty cool that they are hurting themselves with their own weapons. But so Laura's like, she's shooting the shit out of the statue, and it's not enough. And so there's this like swinging pillar that was a part of like activating all this bullshit. It's not important, but like she uses the momentum of this swinging metal or stone pillar to kill the statue. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's just one of those
like I make the whole movie out of this
yeah,
shit.
Yeah. And then Laura like escapes like all of the bad guys and then okay, so we've already seen Laura Mission Impossible, we've seen her Terminator, we've seen her The Matrix, and now we get to see her The Fugitive of Waterfall.
Yeah.
And she jumps off a waterfall.
I'm wondering if this is the part where in my commentary I said every scene has somebody explaining what happened in the scene before it.
Yeah. I think
is that the waterfall part?
Well, it's basically Laura uses the knife that Powell threw and redirects it to go into him. So he threw a knife at himself. And then they go one-on-one, mano y mano.
Yeah, dude.
And, as a kid, before I understood what the word mano means, I always thought it meant just like man versus man. But no, it's hand to hand.
That's hilarious.
Like
I would have thought the same thing.
Yeah. But so Laura and Powell fight. Laura wins. And, it turns out that Powell also had, in one of the various back, what's it called? Where they show what happened before.
Flashback?
Thank you. God damn it. In one of the flashbacks, when John Voight's talking to young Laura, he's got this like pendant clock with a picture of Laura's mum in it. For some reason, Powell has it. So I think he is responsible somehow for John Voight going missing. I still don't totally understand what happened to her dad, but I think he was lost in a time storm.
But, you know how time storms are always happening.
So Laura wins, and she gets her dad's watch back. So now she has a photo of her mum.
Yeah, I want to talk about the fight for like a second.
Yeah.
I did not expect hand-to-hand combat in this movie. Okay. I just expected Angelina Jolie firing big guns at things, and then all of a sudden, a man is just physically putting his hands on a woman, beating the shit out of each other, out of her, out of nowhere. I was like, whoa!
Hell yeah.
Like you did, like it's like, I kind of get what you're trying to do. You're trying to say like, she's just as tough as the fellas,
Right.
you know, but like, no, like just our cultural understanding of gender power dynamics, like they don't get erased by like the previous 80 minutes of shitty movie.
It's true.
Like a fun like little tie-in, which is probably the reason I like had this realization, is there's this YouTube video that's gone pretty viral in the last like 2 weeks. This YouTuber Jenny Nicholson doing a 4-hour like comprehensive review of this Star Wars hotel that just went under.
I think you mentioned that last episode.
Did I talk about it?
A little bit, yeah.
I might have talked about this same thing.
About Kylo Ren, like,
yeah, he does like this
bashing
wrestling,
Rey's head.
like bashing her. Yeah, this, and that was. I hadn't seen this movie yet when I was talking about that in the last episode.
Right.
And then I was like, oh, yep, there it is. Like, this doesn't feel right.
So it's weird because I didn't have like a gut reaction to this, just because Laura has been portrayed as a strong, character with like literally no vulnerabilities or weaknesses. Like, again, like an uninteresting character. And to see her just like fist fight, like, we've seen men shoot at her and like all this other stuff, and I just saw it as less like I saw it's more just like a duel at this point.
Well, there's something I think about this a lot. It was like, maybe I've even talked about it on the podcast. There was like, I think, a Radiolab episode about how like wars have become exponentially more violent over thousands of years, right? Like, kill counts were way, way, way low when it was like you actually had to get in a guy's face and drive something into him.
Yeah.
Like, violence is so much more visceral when it is mano a mano, right? And like, I don't think this would have triggered me so much if it wasn't like, I don't remember the exact setting in the film because, again, I was whatever. Mm-hmm. But I recall him taking the first swing.
Oh,
and
sure.
like, like just like bashing a woman in the face kind of out of nowhere. I was like, whoa! Like, I know you've set it up that she's a badass, but wow, that is alarming.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I should check myself.
I'm not saying like you don't enjoy it or whatever, but like, just be aware of how things play, if you are a creative yourself. Anyway.
Don't fight people unless it's the last resort.
Yeah.
So Laura wins. And then she escapes like the Siberian jungle gym or wherever she was. The sled got destroyed, but all the sled dogs were like ready to go. And so she's just like freewheeling.
Oh my God.
She's just like on her feet holding onto the sled.
It's
dogs.
so weird.
It's kind of cool.
But like, that's the last scene, right?
Well, then,
or the last
then we've
shot?
got we've got the little outro sting that.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
But yeah, it's just the last bit of action in that.
That was another very like, oh, this is how Metal Gear Solid ends. But in that,
it is. Oh my God!
Like, you have two characters who have developed a relationship, discussing their relationship and like where it goes from here. And it's a weird relationship. I'm not like saying, but like, there's a reason to hold on at the end of that game. Whereas this is just like the shot just goes and goes, and I'm like, why? What?
Yeah.
What am I gaining from watching her do this?
It's just action. It's fun.
it's just time.
I think the word bombastic should be used.
It's just time running out the clock.
Yeah, it's expensive time. Time is money. Every 5,000 years. Laura escapes from Siberia. She saved the day somehow. I think like by like talking with her father in that like time loop that he was stuck in or whatever it is. It's so
he's in the time storm.
He's in the time storm. He's waiting for it to. He's gonna wait for another 5,000 years.
Yeah,
but like he basically convinces her to like. He's like, don't mess with time travel, Laura. Like, it's a bad idea.
Except turning that knife around.
That was pretty cool. It's okay if you want to save your bad boyfriend. If you want to save.
If you want to save Daniel Craig, who uses slaves to raid tombs, like, hey, you do you.
He'll turn into one of the better James Bonds. So it's okay. Yeah, Daniel Craig, his shower scene. I don't know what part of the movie the shower scene was, but I was just like, oh, give me more. Yeah. Like I'm drinking. I'm like, show his dick.
Did he have them deep V cuts?
Dick. Show his dick. I love when movies show dick.
Did he have the cum gutters? Did they show those? I feel like they did.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's the thing. That's what you're talking about. That's what's hot.
I've never heard that. That got me. That's good. I assume he had them. I mean,
I that's just my vague memory of the Daniel Craig shower thing.
You just reminded me I have to go clean my gutters after this too. We've been getting a lot of rain lately, and it's been a problem. That is not a euphemism either. I'm not. I gotta go scrape the crust out of my cum gutters. Wow.
He's hot.
You remember? Did you see 28 Days Later? You get to see Cillian Murphy's dick. It's awesome.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
What other famous dicks do we see?
Willem Dafoe.
Doesn't he do Full Penny?
In
the Antichrist?
Yeah. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg at the end of Boogie Nights.
That's not a prosthetic.
That's a prosthetic.
I like my encyclopedic. Like, no, that's not a real dick.
Well, no. That was let me research the Rolodex of dicks on film. Famous celebrity dicks on film that I have. So filling up most of my hippocampus.
Quickly turning into a cum town segment. Okay. Anyway, Daniel Craig is like an incredibly hot man, and he saved this movie for me. And I think also like because they were like, oh right, girls like Tomb Raider too. So and
that's
not
why we got the shower scene.
I'm not saying they specifically like the sequel to the first Tomb Raider game, but they also like Tomb Raider. It's like a hugely empowering female character who is representing something that was wildly underrepresented in film. So
at least like, that was the attempt by the developers.
Let's throw some DC at him, you know, like let's get some of that.
Yeah.
He his movements, man. He's you know, fuck Sean Connery. Pierce Brosnan is a great James Bond, but Daniel Craig I do believe is the best of them. I like Roger Moore as well though. I don't know. I don't have any fuck Sean Connery though. He's like he literally beats women. So,
yeah, right.
Whatever, he's dead. I'm also named after him, which sucks.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah. I don't have like strong feelings towards like anything James Bond other than like I do watch most of them and enjoy them.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about GoldenEye at some point.
Yeah.
Okay, so Laura's she saved the day, whatever the fuck that means. And then it goes back to Croft Manor, and Laura's wearing a dress and high heels and a little hat.
The same one we saw at the beginning.
Yep. But she's still ready to throw down because the fucking robot comes in and Laura fights the robot in the dress. And then we get that great, like, you know how so many action movies end with them about to start another fight scene. And then, where's your head at?
Oh my God, I was just losing it.
Where's your head at?
Oh my God, that was so good. It was so perfect that it ended with that stupid fucking song. My last commentary in my transcript here, it says, the fact that I hate this music is the same reason I hate this franchise. I hate them for the same reasons. It's perfect, but I think, yeah.
It was not the best choice for an end song. I think we all know what.
Oh no, it was perfect. I just hate them both for the same reasons.
I've got a suggestion for another.
Yeah, that would have got me. But
we're no Tomb Raiders too.
Yeah, it's just like so very like, yeah, dude, this is edgy for the boys.
I've been raiding tombs and so have
I. It was just like as soon as that hit, I was like, yep, yeah, that's the right thing to do right here.
The moral of the story is Laura is now willing to adhere to gender roles because she resolved her daddy issues.
Yeah.
That's what the movie's telling us basically is that like, oh, her dad is like, he's like, it's okay, Laura, daddy loves you. And your mom, she would have been a big fan too.
Yeah.
But like, and then Laura's like, now I'll wear the dress. Now I'm Lady Croft.
Now I'll wear the dress. That's the thing. Who coined that about like black comedians? I think it might have been oh God, what's his name? I'm blanking on
Tyler Perry?
Not Tyler Perry.
Because like the Medea thing.
Tyler Perry's the one who put on the dress.
Right.
It's, God, he's the best, and I'm losing
Bernie
his name.
Mac?
Not Bernie Mac. But from that era. God dang, I'm look stupid if I remember. But like he has
Martin Lawrence.
No, because Martin Lawrence put on the dress.
Yeah, I know, dude. Well, Chris Rock.
No.
Barack Obama
wears perms all the time.
Cat Williams.
Thank God. Oh
Cat
my
Williams
God, I'm an
is
idiot.
the man.
He rules. He's nuts, but he rules.
Yeah, he fought a kid.
I'm pretty sure he's the one who came up with that term of like black comedians put on the dress.
Now
and
I'll
that's
wear
their
the
way
dress.
of sort of like,
Yeah.
like being like kind of like broken by the culture because they're like, we'll pay you to put on the dress.
Yeah.
And act a fool.
Eddie Murphy put on the dress.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I will tell you a fun story.
That's how the white man gets him.
Back when I lived in Coreyville, I had a neighbor who had a bit of a crack cocaine problem.
That's fine.
Very nice man. But he was also like manic, and he called. I lived in a house with 2 other white guys. He called all of us the same name.
That's awesome.
He'd be like, he would just go outside of our house and go, Adam, Adam, and any one of us would answer and be like, what's up?
That's awesome.
And one day, because we were trying to be good neighbors, and we were just like, like sometimes he'd ask for money. We'd be like, yeah, that's cool, man. Here's $5, whatever.
Yeah.
And he invited us over because it was his birthday. And he was like, Adam,
that's awesome.
All 3 of your Adams over here.
Get your Adam asses out here.
And so because he was like, I got some weed for you. And I was like, hell yeah, dude, thanks. And so we go to his house, and on TV, he's just watching porn. Like,
that's awesome.
Jail porn.
This
like,
guy
just
rocks.
Like female guard having sex with a big black jail guy, and it was like awesome. And he's like, oh, sorry. He turns it off, and then he puts Medea Goes to Prison on.
That's a good one.
He's like, this is the Polite Company movie I should be putting on right now.
That's a good movie.
Yeah, and then he brings out a tray. Because Medea, that's where I'm coming from. I was like, why am I telling this story?
Yeah.
Medea Goes to Prison. And
I also went through a Medea phase when I lived in Coreyville and watched several of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Did they still make them?
That's a good question. I don't think so,
Yeah.
but I don't know for sure.
But
that's so good though.
Yeah, and then he brought out a gold plate with weed on it. Like, and he was like, "Here you go." And we're like, "What do we do? Like, do we just take this, or are you like, do you want us to smoke all of this right now? Like, what's going on?" Yeah, he died. He took Michael Jackson's death really hard. Too.
Oh no,
he was a good dude. Everyone's got problems. Some of them are just a lot more obvious, like a crack cocaine addiction.
I love the story of like turning off hardcore prison porn to put on Medea.
Yeah.
Medea Goes to Prison.
It was good. It was a good day.
Yeah. So Tomb Raider.
So Lara Croft Tomb Raider.
I'm sorry, Lara Croft Tomb Raider. You're right.
Lara Croft Tomb Raider. Yeah, that's camper stats. Lara Croft Tomb Raider. Let's see. Okay, so good things. Great action scenes.
Yeah.
Fun sets. Nice. Not enough of the good stuff. That's my main criticism.
Yeah.
And too much unnecessary, long-winded dialogue.
Yeah, I would. But like almost to the point that it's hilarious. Like, like I said, when she gets the letter from her dad, and I was just like, it keeps going and going and going and going and going and going and going. They could have trimmed maybe even 30 minutes off this movie, and it'd be great.
Man. I know that there's a sequel. We're not going to talk about it. Angelina Jolie reprises her role as Tomb Raider. I forget what it's called, but it was like another like Lara Croft Tomb Raider, and then I think it's there 2 colons, like Lara Croft colon Tomb Raider colon whatever.
I remember like this one being an even heavier marketing blitz
for the sequel.
Yeah, I remember it being everywhere. We would have been like junior, senior in high school for that one.
Yeah, that's
like 03-ish probably is when that one came out, and I just remember seeing it everywhere. But this one, I remember it being kind of a big deal, but not in the same way.
This is when I remember cardboard cutouts started becoming a big thing in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a lot of Lara Croft cardboard cutouts. Campers, next week, we'll talk about something else. Might be a Tomb Raider. We're going to really kind of test the vibes.
Yeah, we haven't. I just haven't, like, I like the idea of contrasting the Square Enix post, like woke era, and I don't mean that derogatory, like Tomb Raider take.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just if it would be just a straight up Uncharted clone with like a toned down Lara Croft breast wise.
Yeah.
Which is like fine if it's done well, but like I haven't decided if it's worth our time.
How about this? I'm gonna give it a day of playing,
and
I'll
tires.
let you know if I have anything to say about it, and then we'll just go from there.
Okay.
Like, I'll save you from having to get a first impression.
Yeah.
And we are now talking shop at the end of our
It's
episode.
fine. Anybody who's here, like, they're here.
You're here for the vibes.
They're
right?
in for it.
You're here for talking about my old neighbor Roy.
Anybody who's still on at this point is the person like me who's like, oh my God, yes, a 3-hour podcast, so I don't have to think about what to choose next.
I know. I don't want any invasive thoughts. I just want to be distracted and talk about 2001's Lara Croft Tomb Raider. And then I don't have to think about Gaza. I don't have to think about the fact that, like, just in the news is a lot of fun stuff going on right now.
Yeah, I don't have to think about the fact that,
stuff.
like, every time I open my phone, I just see, like, dead children. Like, it's fine. We understand. We're here for you. That's
Lara
a fun
Croft, Rafa.
Oh, I hate it. But I have fun talking about these dumbass movies. I would not recommend watching it. This should be your viewing of the movie.
I think you should be blackout drunk.
Yeah. You be on some kind. Don't watch it sober.
I mean, unless you're, like, struggling with sobriety, then, like, do it sober and then realize, like, maybe I should go back.
No, even then, I would tell those people, just skip it. Stay on the wagon. Like,
yeah. This will knock you off the wagon. Campers. It's been fun. We're just having fun here, and whatever. Who cares?
Yeah, and if you sign up for the Patreon, maybe you'll get my dumb transcript I was reading from, or even just the whole audio file. Just hit play on the movie at the same time you hit play on it, and listen to me grumble, scream at the TV.
That's a fun, unique viewing experience. Yeah, we could set it up so that, like, the movie starts and, like, you can press play on the movie as soon as it happens, and you'll have junior counselor Josh there along talking over the movie.
Yep.
It's fun stuff. It's not Mystery Science Theater because we don't have as many puppets. We have one puppet. I mean, no, we don't. Michael Mayonnaise is real.
He's been missing for quite a while, but there was one at one point.
Yeah. Oh no, we found him.
Oh, thank God.
I'll tell you about it later.
Okay.
Those edibles always kicking in at the worst times.
Yeah, dang.
All right, campers. We're done.
Yep. We'll be back, talking about something next week. Might be a Tomb rated, might not. Anyway, I'm out of here. That's enough of that.
If you'd like to write to us, send a message to campvideogames@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram @campvideogames. If you want to become a real happy camper, you can support Camp Video Games on Patreon. For $5 a month, you'll be granted access to even more discussions about movie-based video games, game-based movies, full-length commentaries, playthroughs, and more. Whether you sign up or not, we're glad to have you here at Camp Video Games.